Chapter 21, Part 2. 12:30 p.m. Well, here I am, the Aberdeen Arms, a bleak spit and sawdust kind of place. Looking around, I would imagine the clientele are the same day in, day out. It is a long, narrow pub with little natural daylight allowed in through the windows that look like they haven't been cleaned since the blackout. The burgundy chairs are worn and faded, the carpet threadbare. A slot machine and a jukebox take up far too much room, making it difficult to get to the bar without annoying or interrupting the other customers. At the back of the pub, beyond the bar, stands an ancient pool table, legs propped up with beer mats and fag packets. Two men are playing, butt ends dangling from their mouths, dripping ash onto what's left of the baize as they slam the balls around the table with little accuracy or care. The toilet doors are just beyond them. Thank God they are closed. I hope I don't need to go. The ladies and gents signs seem out of place here. Even men and women would be stretching the truth. There must be about 20 people in here right now, including the staff. I've been biding my time and working out who to approach. The barman looks angry with the world. A bald-headed beast of a man, with barely a patch of skin left on him that hasn't been violated with ink or scars. The others look ill or psychotic. No pearly kings and queens here. No jolly cockney landlord or cheeky chappie tinkling the ivories as the congregation bursts into a rendition of Roll Out the Barrel. No, this isn't your stereotypical East End pub from the black and white films. This place is like a black lung gasping for its last breath. And yet, it is the best hope of catching Ernie at the moment. I'll wait for a chance to speak to the barman when he comes to collect the glasses. I don't want to disturb his conversations with the locals about salted nuts or pork scratchings. 12:45 p.m. I think I'm drawing attention to myself with all this writing. The locals seem a suspicious lot, and the strange northerner sat in the corner making notes is only likely to unnerve them more. The barman was of some use at least. He had never heard of Mrs. Watt, but said he would send over the Oracle after he'd finished having a piss, as, he said, he would be able to help me. He assured me that what the Oracle doesn't know about Bethnal Green ain't worth knowing. The barman said this man had lived around here all of his life, and was a right nosy bastard and would be happy to talk. He also stated that it would give me a break from that bastard. I have the dictaphone running in my pocket when he comes over. I won't ask permission for this one. He'll probably mistake me for the law and pull out a shooter or something. I will update soon, Mr. Diary. 1:20 p.m. Back outside in the fresh air. Well, as fresh as London air ever gets. So much for the smoking ban. Everyone was lighting up in there. My clothes stink like they used to 20 years ago after a night out. Anyway, I'm going to have to brave it again in a couple of hours. The Oracle has invited me back then. He told me he was going to make a call or two. He seemed very confident. He let me tell him the story of Ernie as he worked his way through at least 5 cigarettes. A number of other pale specimens of human existence looked over his shoulder, eavesdropping and grinning down at me. The Oracle's real name was Albert Proudlock, a bit of a local celebrity and character by all accounts. He assured me that he knew nearly everyone on the manor, and if he didn't, he knew someone who would. He didn't seem fazed about the fact that I was searching for someone who had arrived in the area in the mid-60s. When I asked about Mrs. Watt, he just waved his hand in the air and declared, 6 feet under, son. You won't get much out of her. You wouldn't have got much out of her if she was still here either, tight as a duck's arse. He seemed to be enjoying the attention, and assured me that I had come to the right place. He told me he was 83. He looked more like 183. I could smell his rancid breath from across the table, and it was hard not to gag when he leaned closer to talk to me. Anyway, from the dictaphone recording, this is what I got from him before he requested I go back late this afternoon. I'm already dreading it. I just hope it's worth it. Albert said, Frankenberg, you say? Jew boy? I explained that his real name was Ernie Grimshaw and he'd assumed the other identity in order to help his friends. Albert continued. Still, Jew on arrival. There weren't many of 'em round here. Tended to find and stick to their own in the north. Stamford Hill, Bloomsbury and Golders Green. That's where they would go. Synagogues as far as the eye can see. Although he didn't say it, you could tell in his voice he didn't have much time for Jews. He continued. Daniel Frankenberg, eh? Aged 36. Arrived in 65 from America. Like I said, there weren't many of 'em round here. I'll make a couple of calls and see what I can find out. Won't be cheap, though. Not if I have to go that far back. I asked him what he meant by not cheap. Yeah, for me services, he said. How much? I said. What am I paying for? Information, son. Information. It doesn't come cheap round here. They don't call me the Oracle for nothing. If there's anything to be found, I'll find it, son. If I can find out what happened to him, let's call it half a monkey. Half a monkey, I said. 250 to you, my friend. Cockney rhyming slang. I didn't really have a choice here. It was my only lead. Mrs. Watt was dead and had backed myself into a corner. I don't have that much on me, I mumbled. I only have about 50. You won't get much for that, son, he told me. Well, give me what you got and bring the rest at 4 o'clock. That'll give me enough time, I'm sure. Reluctantly, I gave him the money and left. I could hardly ask for a receipt. I would just have to put it down as expenses, but I felt very, very uneasy handing over cash to a stranger like him. I'll have to get to a working cash machine, which is not easy round here, and go back in that hellhole later on. I will update again when I've spoken to him. 6:15 p.m. Back in the hotel room. What an afternoon. Thankfully, I won't have to visit that place ever again. I have what I need, even if it costs me £250, a robbing, toothless rogue. For the record again, here is the transcript of the conversation with Mr. Proudlock. He said, Have you got the rest of the money? I don't think you'll be disappointed, son. I've found him. At this point I was aghast. Surely not. This was amazing news. I handed over the cash and he stuffed it into an inside pocket without bothering to count it. A few of the others crowded around the table again to hear him talk. I had to hold my breath. The stench was vile. He continued. Cheers, son. I've earned that, let me tell you. Right, the boy Frankenberg arrived in 65, like you said. He got a job working on the buses, a conductor, shortly after arriving. I have a mate that worked for the council, you see. He was able to look back and see who was on their books back in the 60s, and sure enough, a few Jews among them. Your man was one of them. Can't have been too many 36-year-old Daniel Frankenbergs round here in 65. I'm guessing that was him. I told him it did seem possible. He continued. From what I was told, he worked on the buses for a few years. Nothing spectacular. No record of him after 1970. Probably headed up North London with the other Jews. I told him, remember, he wasn't a Jew. Ah, I know, son. My mate said there was no Eric Grimshaw. Ernie, I said. Yeah, I meant Ernie. No Ernie either. Can I have the name and number of your friend to verify the details? I asked him. Will the London Transport Office have records that they can share? I need to find out what happened to him after he left. Ha, he laughed at me. I can't share my sources, son. He wouldn't do me another favour again if I passed his name on. He's already going out his way to look. You can go and speak to them if you want, but I doubt they'll share records of previous employees. Your best bet is to get up to Golders Green and ask about. Mind you, they're probably fucking hundreds of Frankensteins up there. Hook noses everywhere you look. I hope that helps you, son. That was my cue to leave. He didn't have any more to tell me. He started drinking his pint again and talking to those hanging over his shoulder. £250 to find out Ernie worked on the buses. As they say in these parts, I'd been taken for a mug. But at least I had something to go on. I could go to the London Transport Museum in Covent Garden tomorrow and seek out the historian there. There must be some way of finding out more about ex-staff members, especially knowing he was one of them for more than 5 years, or more or less 5 years. A missed call from my mum. Hello, son. I have a bit of news for you, but you are clearly not available to talk. Anyway, I'm going off to the bingo with Sandra. It's the big one tonight. £100,000 jackpot. If she wins it, I'll be bloody livid. I've been going every week, and this is her first trip this year. I hope you're feeling a bit better today, son. And don't you worry, we'll get to the bottom of this. It's exciting, isn't it? Anyway, I hope you had a good day in London. I'm very jealous, you know. If you see the Queen, give her my love. I'll try you again in the morning. You be careful if you're going out. Keep your wallet close. There are pickpockets everywhere down there. Have a good night. Wish me luck. Love you. I know all about pickpockets. £250 for something I should really have been able to find out for myself. I'll make my way up to Covent Garden when the museum opens in the morning and see what I can find out from them. Good luck, Mum. I hope Sandra doesn't win more than you. I'll never hear the end of it. I think I will stay in the hotel bar tonight and watch the match on TV, and then get an early night. The museum opens at 11 a.m. I'll get there for when the doors open and make the most of my time. If Ernie worked for the council, he would have been a registered taxpayer in Daniel's name. If I can establish which branch he worked for, I can look back into employment history and tax records. Well, it's been an eventful day in East London, but not a place I want to visit again in a hurry. Right, time to switch off and get some sleep.